You're listening to the True Crime Nation podcast with Todd and Brian. If you're enjoying the show, email us at truecrimenation@outlook.com. Let's start the show.
Tonight we're going to talk about Aaron Hedges. Aaron went missing in the crazy mountains quite a few years ago. So let's just get into it and see what we can come up with. What do you say?
Right on, let's roll.
All right. So the story goes is that Aaron Hedges, 38 years old, he was a well-regarded hunter from Bozeman. Is that Montana, I believe?
Bozeman, Montana, yeah.
Was last heard from on September 7th, 2014. They discovered some things from him, which we'll talk about later, which is the weird thing to me. The weirdest part of this whole story is the end.
Yeah.
But officials have attempted to find answers to a riddle that may never be solved. So that's what we're doing here tonight. We're going to try to come to some terms with this. And if anyone out there hears this and knows of anything or comes up with anything.
Maybe somebody knows something. And
how cool would it be to solve a missing case by one of our shows, you know?
Oh, man, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
So, Brian, as you know, the story goes, the mystery began when Hedges became separated from two friends who had accompanied him on a hunting trip into the Crazies. They were archery hunting, I guess.
Yep.
Aaron, supposedly something was going on where they kind of got hit with a snowstorm.
The horse got spooked. Yep.
Okay. There was snow on the ground, however, I think, right? But they had stopped at some hunting camp that they had, and I guess, was it up the trail for a few miles? There was a storage depot.
Well, what happened was you skipped the whole part there.
Okay.
The horse got spooked, reared up, and they lost most of their gear, and Aaron lost all of his, except for the backpack I think he had on. Okay. So he didn't have a tent, didn't have nothing. So they got to their camp spot, their hunting spot, but up the road, they had another spot where, I say up the road, but it was quite a ways away, but they had another spot where they kept spare gear. So now that's where we are. So go ahead.
Okay. Like a little hunting cache, so to speak, if they needed extra supplies. And that's right. That horse threw him off and then lost their. So Aaron's going to go get these supplies, and there is snow on the ground, I believe. There's quite a bit of snow at this time. Mm-hmm. They're probably up there, pretty high. Aaron Hedges reportedly radioed his friends to let them know he had missed a turnoff back to their camp. His plan was to seek shelter near the Sunlight Lake area. They apparently had a hunting camp the previous year. It was understood that he was headed to that cache, or cache, however you say it.
Cache. So
another thing about this is that we've talked about between you and me is that Aaron and his friends, or Aaron knew this area very well. He had went there and camped a lot. He knew that turnoff. He knew where he was going. And for whatever reason, for him to miss this turnoff, even with snow on the ground, I guess, the guys were saying it's an obvious, you just go left, you don't go right, So that kind of throws me off a little bit that he did that. I mean, what's going on there? And if he did miss it, why wouldn't he just head back toward it,
Yeah, I don't know. Unless it was dark and he just decided to camp until morning. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Depends on what time the horse got spooked and they lost their gear, I guess. Says the original plan was that he was going to go back up to the cache to get a sleeping bag and some other stuff and then come back. He radioed them that he had missed the turnoff, and they told him he needed to come back up the trail and come back into the camp. That was the last they heard of him. The duration between the time Hedges went missing and the authorities being notified did raise some eyebrows, especially among amateur sleuths on media who made the instant unabashed accusations of foul play. Even Roenberg, an experienced bow hunter, did concede that the time lapse seemed peculiar.
Yeah, they did wait an oddly long time to report that.
I never really thought about that. I mean, I never thought about foul play with his buddies, to be honest with you.
Yeah, when we started talking about doing this, when I tried to look into it some more, and there's a lot of theories about his friends being involved in his missing. So, but that doesn't explain the end of it. So we'll get to that.
Right. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But his
Says,
friends were cleared. So
yeah, they were.
at least as of now.
Says here, by the time we were notified and able to spin up, the weather had hit. We were dealing with 2 feet of snow in the mountains. This is from the search party head guy, I guess. The continuing storm made air searching difficult for the first day or two, actually impossible.
Yeah, isn't it funny how with all these, well, the majority of these missing things that we do, the weather always seems to turn bad right in the middle of the search.
Yeah, I would say all of them.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, the weather has turned bad.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of weird too.
Even in the Dennis Martin case, you remember it rained and storms so hard. But
they had to stop for.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, something to keep in mind as we move on.
Mm-hmm.
Still doesn't make sense at the end, but
Nope.
says search crews entered the Park County side, focusing their efforts on the area that stretches from the Cottonwood Lake Trail to Trespass Creek. According to the authorities, the hunters had begun their trip at the Cottonwood Lake Trail. They said, we have 2 feet of snow. It was snowing hard. We actually deployed a horse team. Okay. The temperature dropped 35 degrees. It was very cold and very wet.
Mm-hmm.
The horse team got back well after dark, but didn't search into the darkness and the snow. So that makes it difficult. If you're looking for somebody and it's snowing, I mean, yeah, you can look for footprints in the snow, but they're going to get buried.
Yeah, but if it starts snowing after they're gone, then what are you looking for? You know,
right? And the wind's going to be blowing, so I can understand that. Again, this guy knew this area very well. He'd hunted there many times. He knew the route. So why would he end up missing? Why would he end up missing the trail?
Right. That's big question number one.
It does key me back to his buddies then, you know?
Yeah, so far.
A little bit.
Yep, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, these guys are kind of shady.
It says they exhaustively searched the crazy mountains east of Wilsile and included 20 dog teams, 7 horse teams, 59 ground searchers, and National Guard, and private helicopters equipped with night vision equipment and spotlights. By September 22nd, officials decided to scale back the search until they received more information. That moment arrived this past summer. I guess this was written the year after this happened, when Roger Besalowicz, a butcher from Powell, Wyoming, happened upon Hedges' belongings while visiting relatives at the Anchor Ranch in Sweetgrass County. So this dude found some stuff. My son-in-law was going to fix some fence, and it was kind of steep, so I dropped him off at the top, referring to the rancher Charlie Rain. It was going to take a while for him to get done fixing the fence, so I had some time to kill. He told me if I wanted to look at a beautiful view, to go on top of the ridge above, and I did. After taking the vista, Roger decided to take a shortcut through the stand of timber. That's when he spotted an orange hunting vest, as well as a backpack and clothing. His initial fear, I thought a bear got somebody. Okay, I want to back up here, too. They did find his boots. The search team did find some boots.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. At a camp spot where somebody had stopped, to rest or spend the night.
Yeah, there was a fire pit there, wasn't there?
Yep.
And I think it's some articles of clothing or some articles. I remember they said this.
Well, I know there was the boots.
The boots were there.
But I don't know if there was anything else at that spot.
They said that part of the backpack strapping had been cut off and burned in the fire.
Yeah, the waist belt thing.
I don't understand that.
I don't either. That's weird. Why would you do that?
And why would you leave your boots there?
When it's cold and snowy.
Right. Talk about, is it hypothermia where people take their clothes off or something? But your boots would be the last thing you think you'd take off.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't know. That's weird to me that they would find the boots right there.
Where they found the boots wasn't it on this ridge, this high cliff with a huge drop off? Mm-hmm. And the weird thing about it was to get to where they found his other belongings later on, he would have had to cross that river, that drop
you'd have to go down and go up.
And no shoes?
Yeah. in winter,
Doesn't make sense
he
to
wouldn't
me.
have made it that far.
Doesn't make sense to me. So back to Roger, this guy finding his remains miles away. He says, my first thought when I saw the clothes piled up against a tree, I just knew there was going to be a body there. There was a lot of bear activity where they flip rocks over to eat the bugs underneath. I just knew there was going to be a body there, but there wasn't. The inventory at the scene included a bow, backpack, socks, shirt, sweatpants, and a vest. The backpack had holes in it, which he assumed were caused by small varmints. Wrappers from granola bars along with other debris were scattered nearby.
And wasn't there a coffee cup as well?
I think there was a coffee cup sitting on a log, like someone had been drinking out of it. There was food. I think they found actually granola bars in the backpack.
Yeah. I mean, if that was a bear, that would have been ripped apart.
There's no way that was a bear,
left.
right? There's no way a bear was going to do that.
Nope.
His body's not there, but his stuff is. So someone or something had to put it there. Or he managed to live to that point. How the hell, I don't know. 9 months later. And here's the weird thing about where they found that stuff. Let me back up here too. Where they found that backpack and his bow and all that stuff, there within eyesight was a home, a house, a ranch.
Yeah. Yeah, right across the field.
So he very easily could have just walked up to that door and said, help me, I've been lost for 9 months. Or however how long it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that was Aaron who left his stuff there. Weird thing is that why were his clothes there? What's going on here? Even if it was foul play by another human, it doesn't add up. You wouldn't leave his belongings out where someone's going to find them. You know,
Nope, you wouldn't think.
You get rid of them. You burn them, right?
Yeah, burn them, bury them, something. Throw them in a cave.
Just a weird situation altogether. It says here, I thought some out-of-state hunter got cold and disoriented and wanted to go home, but he couldn't find his stuff. So I gathered it all up to put it in a backpack to haul it back out. When I was just about done, I saw a piece of paper, and it was part of his license, and it had his name on it, and it said Bozeman, Montana. So he found his license. Just kind of lay in there.
Interesting.
I mean, if this is a work of human hands, serial killer, revenge, whatever you want to call it, you don't do that stuff. You just don't leave that stuff laying there.
Right.
And
yeah, you'd make him disappear completely.
His license and everything just kind of laying there in the open. I don't know. It's just weird to me. The fact the gear had been left among the trees by Hedges, he would have not been that far from possible rescue. It was a couple miles from the main ranch house, so he could have gotten there. Who knows how long his stuff was sitting there before they actually found it? You know, was it a few days after he came up missing? Was it 9 months later?
It was in pretty good shape, but I don't think it would have been 9 months later.
Yeah. I just don't get it, man. Just weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that being hypothermic and disoriented, Hedges removed layers of clothing and headed in the wrong direction? Yeah, it could.
There's a possibility, I guess, but I mean, he was an experienced outdoorsman. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. And then if I take a wrong turn for whatever reason, I'm going to go back the right way. And if I didn't, and I called my buddies or called you and said, hey, Brian, I'm not, I'm lost here. I would be trying to get back. I'm not just going to stake out the night from where I'm at unless it was really, really getting bad. That's the only thing I can think of is if the storm was terrible.
Yeah, especially since he was on a trail, a well-marked trail.
And to note that, it says here, if the hunters began their trip from the Cottonwood Lake trailhead on the west side of the mountains, and Hedges was bound for Sunlight Lake to the north. Mm-hmm. How did he end up on the east side of the range? The distance he would have had to cover was 15 miles, much of it trail and arduous. I don't get it, man.
I don't know.
It's
crazy.
Mountain lion's not going to drag somebody that far. A bear's not going to take somebody that far.
No, they're just going to rip them apart right where they're at.
This is definitely not done by animals that we know. We can exclude that, can we not? This is not done by animals that science knows exist. We'll say that.
Right. No. There's no blood. There's no nothing.
So he was taken by something with intelligence. I don't think he traversed that amount of miles on his own. Didn't he have a radio anyway? He had a radio.
He had a walkie-talkie, yeah.
So what happened with that?
I don't know.
Says we've got a lot of unanswered questions, and until we have some...
They never did find that walkie-talkie.
I don't think they did. Another weird situation. We've got a lot of unanswered questions, and until some credible information to push us in another direction, it's just an open investigation. We have to look at all the possibilities. This is the sheriff, I guess, saying that. He seemed to indicate that Hedges likely died from natural causes. Yeah, again, even if his buddies did this, which it kind of leads to a little bit, you kind of put them as number one suspect, don't you?
If you dig into this some more, you're like, those guys are kind of shady.
You and I have read on this and studied on this a little bit to do this show. That never really crossed my mind so much as it does now. However, when you go back to where his backpack was found, why would you do that? Unless you felt guilty and you wanted to get caught, or one of the guys in the group felt bad and wanted people to know, here here's his shit.
Maybe
That's the
find
only
his
thing
stuff
I can think of. And if that's the case, they need to go back and talk to these guys again. I don't know. Were they given lie detector tests? Were they put through the ringer?
I don't know if they had lie detector tests, but they did talk to him a couple times, I think. So.
It says here, Brian, also that missing from the evidence is the fact that Hedges has not been found.
Right.
While unheard of in missing cases, the element what stands in the way of ultimate closure, the questions will remain. If you think of it, it's a theory. This is the Sheriff Rodenberg talking. Everyone from he got turned around just off the trail, got caught up in the storm and passed away from hypothermia to he's in Mexico somewhere. UFOs got him. There's a full list, a legal page of theories out there. How long will this case remain open? Indefinitely, they say. They'll keep it open until they find him.
Until they find remains or him.
I thought it was talking about that they did find part of a skull.
Yep.
In a pelvis
right.
or something.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
Did they say it was his, though? I don't think they said it was his.
I think they did, actually. I thought I saw an update to that.
23 months later, I've got notes. 23 months later, a skull and pelvis were found. Actually, they found his cell phone and jacket. So, yeah, they did find him. Okay. Partially buried, I guess. Supposedly.
Okay. Well, animals.
He was 6 miles from his boots and 11 miles from camp where they found these remains and a half mile north of his backpack. Coroner could not relate the cause of death. So if that was him, and they identified it as him, they found him. The case is solved, right? I mean, as far as he's not missing.
Well, he's not a missing person anymore, apparently. But what happened?
What happened to this guy?
What
do you think? What's your most logical explanation on this?
Well, logically, you would look at his buddies,
Yeah.
You really dig into it some more. But what they did, or finding the way they found his stuff doesn't make any sense. Like you said, for it to be human doing it, because you wouldn't let them find anything.
No. I mean, you would think if you were out to get somebody for whatever reason, as terrible as that is, if you're going to do something to somebody and you're going to do it up there in the mountains, why wouldn't you just bury a big hole and put everything they had in them in it and hope to God no one found it? To play this game of, well, we're going to leave his boots here and we're going to leave his backpack over here, put his body over here and his jacket over it, that makes no damn sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
And a human cannot travel that but why? Did the guy just go crazy? Did he have a bad acid trip and just flip out and become one with nature and didn't survive? That's the only other explanation I can
could be.
If someone said,
there are some pretty far out theories, like slipped through a wormhole. He was in another dimension.
Yeah.
But seemed like he was still here. So it might have been snowing here, but it wasn't snowing where he was.
Yeah.
And somehow, when he took his boots off to rest, somehow when he took off his boots, they somehow got back into this dimension. It gets pretty wild with these theories.
It does.
Maybe he missed the turn because he was running from something.
Maybe something spooked him. Mm-hmm. Why did the horse get spooked? Let's go back to
happened. That. Yeah, that happened before. I don't know. Nobody. It just said he got spooked, and
something would have made it. It obviously saw or heard or smelled something though. And a bear. I mean, I don't know how horses react to bears. Depends if they've been around them or not. I guess if they've seen them before, I don't know. But still.
Yeah, but they didn't say anything about a bear, and they're all experienced hunters, so they would know what to do with that.
And back to his buddies, the plan, the way of this thing action wouldn't follow any kind of plan. They didn't have a plan, so to speak. They didn't know this horse was going to get spooked and lose all their stuff. And how would they know Aaron would even be the one to volunteer to go get this stuff? Maybe he wouldn't have been, So that doesn't make sense. You'd think it'd kind of follow a plan. They'd want to get him alone. They'd want to set him out there by himself. But I don't think it happened that way. I think
but it was his stuff that got lost. So,
oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, but still, they're not going to be able to. Well, let's spook this horse and make it lose all of his stuff. So he goes
making sure it's his stuff that gets lost.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Yeah, you can't plan that. But you never know.
So back to the, where they found his backpack and his mug and his bow.
Mm-hmm.
If Aaron didn't leave that there, someone else did. Something else did. Right?
Right. And that's another thing that doesn't make any sense. If you have hypothermia and you're jettisoning stuff because you're getting hot or why would you carry the bow all that way? That's bulky and weird, and
I'm going to take my bow, but not my boots.
Right. So a lot of this still doesn't add up to me.
No, it doesn't. I guess it's possible that you could get deranged enough to act like that, but how did he survive for 9 months?
Yeah.
Or 23 months, whenever it was they found the remains.
No, I don't think he did.
And why would you? Why would you stay in the mountains? Again, he would have to want to go on.
Yeah, especially when he was that close to a house at the end.
Yeah, you could see it. You could see it.
Yeah.
This one baffles me.
I know. This is a weird one. If anybody out there has any theories, we'd love to hear them. Or maybe knows something about it.
Yeah. Maybe someone out there knows what's going on. Maybe someone knows that Aaron had enemies. Who knows? I will tell you this much. I don't think he did this on his own. I don't think he traversed all that time on his own. I think he was moved by something or someone. Yep. Maybe he was abducted. He could have been abducted by aliens.
Could have been abducted. When they dropped him back off, they were like, "You're done with this guy."
I don't know.
If they dropped him back off, who knows?
Strange things can happen, and they do happen in this world. That's all I can say.
Yep.
You got anything else on this, man?
No, I mean, I think we've talked about all the possible theories from dimensional portals to aliens, his friends just being shady. Got rid of him.
Yeah, and that just doesn't line up, I don't think, as much as anything. Again, guys, if you know of anything about this, if you've heard about this, if you have your own theories, reach out to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on this.
TrueCrimeNation@outlook.com, and let us know. We will definitely dig into this more as we go along.
All right, with that, we'll wrap this up. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Brian, thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure, man.
And remember,
monsters